There's probably a few things that I do that would, have Shakespeare rolling in his grave, but for the most part, I think that, I'm trying to stick with their original intention and just kind of interpret it for a modern audience, and I'm not messing with it in, let's say, the way Hollywood would do, or has historically always done. So I'm trying to really bring out the essence of the work and not, not dilute it or adulterate it. The thing that's hard, well, first of all, just the sheer amount of work that's involved. Most of these projects take more than a year. They're, 120 to 140 pages of fully illustrated. So it's a huge amount of work. And then in terms of the text, the challenge is a little different with each book. So with Shakespeare, the challenge is that it's so dense and it's so intricate, and if I want to abridge it or change it at all, it just has to be done very, very intelligently to make sure that I don't sort of leave glaring gaps or mess up the poetic structure, the meter of the verse. And then for something like the Odyssey, it's so long that I had to abridge it pretty radically, which actually basically involved rewriting the whole thing. That is, in terms of the storytelling, that's my favorite also. Not necessarily in terms of the art. There are ways in which I think the art in some of the other books is more interesting because I had to do the Odyssey very, very fast. But it works. It's very clean. It works for that style of storytelling. But the art is a little richer, maybe in like Beowulf or Macbeth. For every book, I come up with a different style. It's not a different style. I mean, I still have the same style of storytelling and of drawing, but as far as the way the finished art is executed, I change the materials and the methods that I'm using. Beowulf actually has three styles in it because I originally did it as a three-issue miniseries. The first section is painted digitally, the second section is painted on wood, and the third section is basically it's painted on paper but with all these like kind of added splattery textures on it. So every book is a little different, and also every book has a slightly different workflow. So, for example, in Romeo and Juliet, I would do these rough layouts digitally, and then I would draw a finished drawing on the computer, print it out, and then paint it with watercolor. And in Macbeth, I reversed that. So I still did the rough layouts digitally. I printed it out. I drew it in pencil. I scanned that back in, and then I colored it digitally. And I layered in some textures that I created with traditional paint. So there's always some play between traditional and digital because of the flexibility that digital offers, but because I like the look and the feeling of traditional materials. I think it's always an open question where your art is going to take you next. And so one of the pieces of advice that I give to young people is that you want to work really hard at it, but you don't necessarily want to have too precise of a target in mind in terms of what kind of art you're going to do. I think it's useful to have a very open mind and to look at the whole, look at all the artistic possibilities because not that it's easy to make a living in art, but there's a vast number of potential things you can do as a professional artist, and you don't necessarily know what they all are or how your work is gonna fit into that world. So I think it's good to just basically develop yourself as an artist in general, and then kind of see where that takes you.